real world use case for RAG. I work for a company and we do all kinds of automation projects. And I've done lots of automation projects myself. But they give me a project using hardware that I have never used before and say, Richard, you got to go do this project. And that's the Modicon M580. This is a real world use case that I actually experienced. So what do? Okay, first thing I do, I have to download the reference manual, correct? Here it is, download it, open it up, 588 pages. It's a pretty big manual. Now this is just the hardware manual. I also got to work with the software that actually references and uses this hardware. That manual, that's 552 pages long. Then they want me to install and configure an OPC-UA module, which is understandable because that's how I'm going to interface with my SCADA system, which is again part of my job. Whatever your job is, it's relevant, but in this case, that's what I have to do. It's 208 pages long. So I've got all these manuals, and this is the information that I have to digest in order to set up that software. This is a very common scenario. All kinds of people have to deal with this in their daily jobs. But what I'm going to do in this case is instead of having to go through those manuals and pick and decide where I need to find everything, I'm going to use RAG with AI and make this job go really quickly. Let me show you how it's done. Now, in this scenario, I've already set up my RAG pipeline, which I'll get to in another video, but I got to create a knowledge base. I'm going to create that knowledge base. It's called Schneider PLC documentation. There it is. This is those manuals that I referenced earlier. I'm just going to literally drag and drop them in there. They're going to go ahead and be added. So all I got to do is just wait for those 3 manuals to get ingested. There we go. A few minutes later, all 3 of those manuals have been added. Great. Now let's go ahead and put them to use. Now I set up my GPT model to interface with the Schneider RAG that we just created. Let's go ahead and ask it a question. That question, I am new to Schneider PLCs. Can you walk me through starting a new project and control expert? Let's see what it does. So you can see it's searching the knowledge base. It's going to produce an answer. Okay, here's our answer. So you can see it gave me a step-by-step guide on where to start. I'm new to this hardware. I've never used it before. I'm just looking for a way to get started. And it's telling me the exact steps in great detail. And I even have a reference. And it tells me the relevancy score of that. So I've got auditing trail here. Here's another interesting thing that I got with this answer. It's telling me, now that you've created your project, from here, you can proceed to add I/O, configure communications, and write your PLC program. If you need any guidance on further steps, let me know. So it actually leads me into what I want to do next. And I want to set up my I/O modules because remember, I wanted to set up that OPC-UA module. So let's go ahead and ask that question. So you can see here, I asked it to walk me through setting up an I/O module. My project is going to have an OPC-UA module. Let's set that one up. So it's going to search my knowledge base, set up an OPC-UA module. And I have the document for that. So and here's our answer. In extreme detail with citations. It's telling me step by step how to add that OPC-UA modules without having to actually go through the manual myself. And all the setup that's required. And then I can build a project, and now I've got the OPC-UA module added. And again, it's asking me what I should probably be doing next. Setting up a server, mapping the variables, whatever. And then I can decide on what I want to do next. I just kept iteratively asking questions on what to do next, and it gave me very detailed steps. Setting up the IP address, setting up cybersecurity, setting up testing, setting up the endpoint with an IP address, very detailed information. Now I'm at the point where I need to set it up with my SCADA system, but I don't have any actual SCADA system documentation with this. So I'm going to use the internet for that. So I prepared the question saying that I want to set this thing up and connect it to a client. The client is Ignition SCADA. And I'm going to turn on web search for that. Let's go ahead and do that. Now you can see it's searching the web this time. Okay, the results are really interesting. So what you can see is that it handled the server side and the client side and gave me all the details. So the server side, which was referencing my manual that I had locally, it gave me those details and what to do on that side. And then on the client side, it had to go to the internet to get those details because that SCADA system information was not included in my knowledge base. And it gives me the citations for that too. It actually used a combination of both my local knowledge base and the internet with the citations on where it got the information from on how to set this thing up. So you can see That's a form of using both internet and local search with RAG. And I'm going to show you how to set all this up in my next video.